Hey there, hi there, ho there, people of Twitter. Your buddy Choppadong is back to break down a slate with you. We've switched off of hockey. We're now headed for baseball. I am a coach and contributor for DFSArmy.com. And if you have not found me already on Twitter, why don't you run out to Twitter and take a look? This is my name. This is where you can find me. You can find a lot of updates, content that I'm working on. You can find a little bit of motivation. You can also find some of the articles that I do, daily slate breakdowns, comments with some of the guys that I talk back and forth to. I'd love to have you follow me. I'd love to interact with you. I'd love to teach you a little bit of DFS baseball before we get rolling into the football season next year. That's me in a nutshell. Like I said, I'm a coach and contributor at DFSArmy.com. You can see some of the articles that I've written here recently. If you scroll down our front page, we have all of the major sports are covered. We've got, for as little as $25 a month, I'll give you a secret little tip right here. Enter the code 20OFF. 20-OFF. Get 20% off of that price right there. Become a VIP. Follow the link I'll put in the description of this video. If not, head over to my Twitter page and find the link in my profile there. I'd love to have you become a member. We can do a lot more talking there. We've got our own tabs for everything from strategy to different sports. We've got our own VIP lineups page that shows you a lot of what I'm going to show you over here, but I'm going to show you for free today because we need to get moving here in 15 minutes or less and get this slate busted up. I use Roto Grinders quite a bit, but I'm gravitating back to our own VIP page because we've put a lot of stats and a lot of work and a lot of effort into it. Hats off to Boomer's daddy, Keith Hall, for putting a lot of the work in there. We've also got some great contributors, Al Walsh, new guy, Burns, mathematician extraordinaire that is punching out analytics corner for you guys to read as well. So if you're not hooked up with the Army, you need to. The content over there is unbelievable, and our Slack chat forums are just absolutely going gangbusters with the education that we're providing and teaching. The value there for $20 a month, $25 a month it will blow your mind. You will absolutely see it. Point is, let's get into the slate. I want to tell you a little bit of what I look for when I look at teams. I'm looking for pitchers first. If you follow Chin Music, you can follow through the flow of what I tend to look for. I'm looking for very, very simple targets. I'm looking for great pitching. I'm looking for bad pitching. And then I'm looking for good hitters or good teams projected by Vegas to score a lot of runs. Oftentimes they're facing bad pitching. And I'm looking for the top producers on those offenses. Here's how I find them. First, pitchers. I'm going to look for the Vegas total, the over-under, the pitcher or hitter's park that they're in, and of course the weather. If I see weather that's kind of nasty, 40, 50, 60% chances of rain, I'm not touching that pitcher. I cannot afford to have that guy sit. And this is more of a cash mindset. If you want to take a lot more risk than I do in GPPs, freaking go for it, man. Be my guest. But I'm a pretty safe player by nature. I will get a little goofy and get a little contrarian here and there, which you might see today, you might not. I don't know. I will tell you this, that when we're looking down these pitchers, the first thing I do is I start writing these guys down. I will write down Brett Anderson. I will write down Chris Archer, and I will start narrowing my focus down to 3 or 4 pitchers that I like. Everybody else is dead to me. I play primarily on FanDuel. I don't need a second pitcher. I don't give a shit about a second pitcher right now. Sorry if that turns a few of you guys off. I do play some on Fantasy Draft. I can find second pitchers when I need to, but when I'm trying to break a slate down in an hour or less, don't got the time. I'm looking for 4 pitchers tonight. I'm looking for Zach Greinke, who I think is too expensive. I'm looking for Chris Archer. I'm looking for Jason Vargas, whatever the guy's name is in Kansas City. And I'm looking for Amir Garrett, Cincinnati. These guys are all in hitters' parks. That's dangerous. That we don't have a lot to pick from tonight. The only one that we did have that was in a good spot was Zach Greinke, and his odds from Vegas have fallen from a -170 down to like a -125, -135. So even Vegas is a little sketchy on him. I look at their strikeout potential because when I can't find an overwhelming Vegas favorite, I need strikeout potential to build my floor, to give me a little bit of upside. Also to counterbalance some of the runs these turds are going to give up on a nightly basis. Some of these schleps at the bottom of these orders or bottom of these rotations are just going to give up runs. And I need strikeouts to combat that. So I add the opponent's K percentage to the pitcher's K percentage, and I generally come up with a number that I'm calling K score. And when I add those two numbers together, I get Zach Greinke has a 425. It's a 42.5% strikeout rank when you take his strikeout percentage and the opponent's strikeout percentage, which is what the Padres tonight, and you add them together, you get a 42.5. That's okay. I'm looking for over 500. Chris Archer, 493. Vargas in Kansas City, 498. Not bad. Garrett in Cincinnati, 533 that's elite. Now he has a very, very small sample size, so we got to take that into consideration as well. We take price into consideration as well. Greinke 10K, Archer 9,500, Vargas 8,500, Garrett 7,700. What are you willing to live with? What are you willing to sacrifice? I want some of the safety of the strikeouts facing a bad strikeout team, but I also want some price because I'm going to want to jump into some big bats. I look at Sierra, which is the ERA that a pitcher should be pitching to if we take out luck. If these stats are blowing you away, you need to come over to DFS Army. You need to look at some of our strategy articles and read up on some of these stats and what they mean. When you're pitching to a Sierra and you take out an ERA and you take the luck factor out, it brings you to your Sierra. And in this case, the lowest Sierras on the board are Vargas and Garrett at 280 and 259. So, again, these guys are in pretty good spots. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on one of those four pitchers. Which one do we like? We're going to throw him in there and lock him in. The next thing we're going to do is focus on the bad pitching tonight. You've got Perez in Texas, Hughes is a target in Minnesota, Jimenez in Baltimore, target, Kane in San Francisco, target, Garza in Milwaukee. These guys are all pitching to over 4.5 and 5.0 Sierras. They're bad pitchers or going badly, and we want to focus on the offenses that they're facing tonight for our bats because we want good hitters facing bad pitching. That's generally a recipe for DFS success. When I'm looking at the implied run totals here, these numbers right here, the blue ones, I'm looking for big numbers, over 4s. I'm looking for Washington, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, Minnesota, the LA Angels. These guys are in good spots tonight. They're carrying the high totals. I write these things down. I rank them. I also look at where the pitcher, and I'll show you another day, where the pitcher has a weakness, either on the right-handed side of the plate or the left-handed side of the plate. You're going to read articles. You're going to find out when you see, say, Ubaldo Jimenez, right-hander, take the left-handed bats in the lineup, in the Tampa Bay lineup. Sometimes, sometimes not. You need to find out if Ubaldo Jimenez is actually a reverse splits pitcher and is he struggling against righties as well. Let me tell you, the guy sucks right now. Yeah, he's struggling against both sides of the plate. Point is, we want to look for those numbers. We want to give ourselves that little bit of an edge and roster the best of the best of the best. And we've got 9 games to pick from 18 teams. We can't touch them all unless we build a few lineups, which is another tip of mine you'll get in some of the articles I write. Build multiple lineups. So once we've looked at some of these numbers and we're starting to look at where we want to go, I'm going to write down, I'm going to jump into Washington and Colorado. This is the chalk game of the night, or it should be. You're going to look, Tyler Anderson's a lefty. Let's look at how these guys, I'm going to focus on 1 through 5 in the order. We're going to see how these guys are hitting up against left-handed pitching. When this thing loads up, I'm going to show you really, really quickly that I'm going to take a 2-year baseline and I'm going to shift into OBP. And I'm going to look at ISO. That gives me my power. These guys get on base. These guys hit with power. I look at Jason Worth over 135 at-bats, 410 and nearly a 300 ISO. 200 ISO is elite. 400 OBP is elite. Hello. He's in a very, very good spot tonight. Daniel Murphy right behind him. 379 is about what? You add these two together, you get about a 580. Again, fairly good. Rendon, Harper. Look at these. Now, I'm going to look at this as a baseline, okay? And I'm going to see who's sitting where and what I like. Now, you talk about K-score, adding 2 numbers together. For my VIPs in the DFS Army, I do a little thing called OBISO. I add these 2 numbers together. And I'm going to tell you the baseline you look for is 600. When you find it, you're going to find that people like Adam Eaton's a 430, Trey Turner's a 430, Bryce Harper's a 470, Daniel Murphy 570 for Harper, 580 for Daniel Murphy, 590 for Jordan Zimmerman, or not Jordan Zimmerman, Ryan Zimmerman. And for Jason Worth, a 705 right now. That's pretty sick. I shift to the 4-week numbers because I want to see how they're running lately. Are they above or below that baseline? Bryce Harper, look at this. He's he's over 1,000. He's normally a 570. Dude's running pretty hot. Am I right? Now, it doesn't take rocket science to notice that if you follow along with baseball and you follow along these games. But what I'm trying to show you is if he's running above his baseline, he's somebody you need to consider. Zimmerman has 1,700. His baseline is a 590. For Christ's sake, he's almost a full 1,000 points above his baseline. Dude's hot. Is it sustainable? No. Might it continue? Yeah, he's obviously seeing the ball very, very well. You take these things into consideration. Jason Worth, 2,000. Good Lord, he's getting on base. He's only had 2 at-bats. All right, so correction, you got to look at sample size too when you're facing lefties. The 4-week numbers, if they don't face a lot of lefties, they're a little bit skewed. So pardon me for getting a little overreactive there, But I think you see my point. If I can find a large enough sample size and go back and see who's hitting lefties well according to their baseline, these are guys that are going to make my short list. I also will cross-check with batter versus pitcher. I want to see if these guys have been smashing Tyler Anderson or if he owns the shit out of them. I'm going to look at their prices. And I'm going to see, of course, they're inflated. They're in Coors Field. But look at some of these guys. Zimmerman, Jason Worth, who we identified as decent plays, are under 4,000. This makes a nice little mini stack, does it not? You load up on a couple of the Rockies bats, too. And you're looking for guys like Arenado, of course. DJ LeMahieu, if you don't know this, is an on-base machine. Charlie Blackmon's playing better. Mark Reynolds hits for power out in Coors. Trevor Story's hot right now. These are all names that are going to be used tonight. We scan down this list, and let's say we want to do something a little bit goofy tonight, and we want to look at Zach Greinke, who's not going all that well. Which guys are going well against Zach Greinke, against right-handed bats? I'm telling you right now, it's only a couple of these guys. But if you want to look at the batter versus pitcher history, this is another. You're going to cross-check everything you do with this. You may not need a really, really large sample size here to see who likes what pitchers, but you can't really go off of 6 at-bats or 2 at-bats either. But look at Eric Ibar, 33 at-bats, 389 OBP. Hello. He's touched him up for a couple of doubles and a home run, 242 ISO. Hello. Eric Ibar is a pretty crappy player, to be quite honest with you, but it looks like he owns Zach Greinke, does it not? For 2,300, that gets me back over into Coors, does it not? These are the kinds of things that you need to start looking for and you start thinking about when you're digging into these slates. If you want to look, I mean, I've got all these things offensed out. I write them all down. I start comparing who I like on what teams and where I like them, and then I go and I write them down by position. I'm going to write down my catchers right now. I've got 2 catchers. I've got 4 second basemen. I've got 3 third basemen. I've got 6 first basemen that are playable tonight. I've got 1 or 2 shortstops. And I've got outfielders, about 7, 8, 9, 10 outfielders that I would play tonight. So what am I going to do? I'm going to dive in. And the position where I've only got 1 or 2 guys, like say catcher, I'm going to roster them first. I'm going to pick my pitcher over here first, the guy that I try to build my lineup first with the cheapest guys I can handle. And I'm going to take one of the more expensive pitchers of the night that I like, and I'm going to see how much money that leaves me over at the end of the night. Again, this is called bottom-up building. You're building from your value first. At the end of my line, I'm having fun now. I'm upgrading. I'm happy with all these guys. Am I going to run this lineup out there all by itself? No. I probably could. It's baseball. These guys hit homers. Next thing you know, I'm winning. I left $3,600 on the table. I left $5,000 on the table last, 2 weeks ago and won a 100-man league contest. It was a top 1% lineup across the entire slate, and I left $5,000 on the table. Baseball salary kind of doesn't matter. You don't have to fill your salary like you do in some of the other sports. I look at like Austin Hedges, Mark Reynolds, Chase Utley, if you've looked at his BVP, David Freese, Eric Ibar, Jock Peterson, who's way too cheap right now, David Peralta, Corey Dickerson. These are guys I'm okay with. And now let's say I want to run one of these guys out of there. I've got $3,600 to play with. Goodbye, Chase Utley. I'm going to go straight after a little bit different mindset here. I'm going to throw Daniel Murphy in there. Bam. I've still got $1,500 left over. I've got a power hitting catcher, power hitting first baseman, great second baseman, value at third base. Oh, $1,500 gets me to $4K. Who does $4K get me there? If I run out and I run into third base, $4K gets me Jake Lamb in Arizona, stacked with Peralta. I've got Jock Peterson's double dong upside, Peralta's on base potential, Corey Dickerson's power. I mean, this is an okay lineup too. It filled my cap. If I want to play, this is what I do. I start massaging around and I start playing with studs. Why do you want to play with the junk? Why do you build from the very, very top or positionally going on down? There's a good article for you guys to read. Run to dfsarmy.com and on the front page you'll see this Alvarez's free square. Go take a look at it. When you're running down these lists, you're going to start putting the value in there first, and you're going to start upgrading as you go. If you start the other way around and pick, well, I really want Arenado tonight, and I really want Goldschmidt tonight, and you really want, oh crap, I'm out of money. You mean I got to go find 6 punts, 6 pieces of crap, and debate between it? Believe me, you've done it. I know you've done it. I've done it too. I learned a different way. I learned how to build from the bottom up. I start putting in the value, cheapest guy to each position I want, and I start upgrading from there. If I want to upgrade slowly, a couple $100 at a time, I can do that. I want to start stacking teams, I can do that. I want to start loading up on just go straight studs and scrubs, I can do that. I'm having fun building lineups now because I'm picking from the studs because my value is already locked in. Guys, if this helps you, Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Run over to Twitter. Give me a follow. Give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. Join the VIP and the DFS Army. We'll do more of this as the season goes on, guys. Peace out.